Today is October 24th. It's the 298th day of the year, and this is the On This Day podcast. Born on this day in 1838, Annie Edson Taylor in Auburn, New York. Annie begins her adult life as a school teacher. She gets married, has a son, who then dies young, and soon thereafter, her husband dies as well. She bounces around the country for many of the following years, opening up a dance school in Bay City, Michigan. She teaches music in Sault Ste. Marie on Michigan's Upper Peninsula. She manages to support herself over the years, but as she nears old age and looks to retirement, Annie Edson Taylor is on the verge of being destitute and seeks the means to secure her future. For 2 years, beginning in 1899, she thinks about what she could do to make a lot of money honestly but quickly. She recalls, quote, "All kinds of schemes ran riot through my brain. Reading the New York paper about people going to the Pan American Exposition and from there to Niagara Falls, the idea came to me like a flash of light. Go over Niagara Falls in a barrel. No one has ever accomplished this feat." So that's what Annie Edson Taylor does. To celebrate her 63rd birthday, she goes over Niagara Falls in a barrel on this day in 1901. Kids, don't try this at home. She has a barrel custom made for her plunge, outfitted with a mattress for padding, and an anvil attached to the bottom to keep the barrel upright as it floats through the rapids. She tests the barrel out a couple days before by sending it over the falls with a cat inside. The cat survives the 167-foot drop and fills Taylor with enough confidence to take the ride herself. On this day in 1901, Taylor climbs into her barrel. A bicycle pump is used to pump air into the barrel to increase the air pressure inside, and then it's sealed with a cork. Her barrel is rowed out into the Niagara River just off the south side of Goat Island, and then it's rolled into the water. Her barrel floats swiftly towards the drop and then plunges over the Horseshoe Falls, through the mist, and lands in the pile of rocks at the bottom of the gorge. It's picked up by the current and carried to the Canadian shore. When the barrel is opened, Taylor pops out with a severe gash on her head, but she's alive. Queen of the Mist, they call her, heroine of the Horseshoe Falls. While Taylor achieves the fame and notoriety she sought from her stunt, the riches elude her. She never attains the financial security that was the whole reason for going over the falls in the first place. Annie Edson Taylor, born on this day in 1838, and the first person to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel on this day in 1901, her 63rd birthday, lives the rest of her years in poverty and passes away in 1921 in Lockport, New York. After going over the falls on this day, Taylor says, quote, "No one ought to ever do that again." On this day in 1929, the New York Stock Exchange plummets 11% at the opening bell. Over the next 4 days, the Dow Jones Industrial Average continues to drop in the great stock market crash of 1929 that results in the Great Depression of the 1930s. The 1920s are a time of excess and abandon in the years following World War I. It's a time of speculation and indiscretion that leads to an economic bubble at the end of the decade as the Dow Jones inflates to 10 times its value from the start of the decade. After the October crash of 1929, the Dow Jones is back to where it started in 1885, and it will be 1954 before it reaches the heights of September 1929 again. In early 1929, the economy becomes sluggish. Production decreases. Construction and auto sales are down. Consumer debt is up, and the market begins to slide. Despite brief panics and downturns, though, the market continues to climb at a rapid rate over the summer. The Dow peaks at 381 in September, and then later that month, the London Stock Exchange crashes. In New York, prices begin to decline, but speculation continues. Investors borrow money to buy more stock, which is a good bet if prices go up. But they don't. On October 18th, the market crests the brink. Prices fall, and buyers buy at what they think are bargain basement prices. But they're not. The real panic begins on this day in 1929, a day that will be called Black Thursday. The market opens 11% down, which is a shock to many on the floor. A trading record is set on this day with nearly 13 million shares traded by the closing bell. The following Monday, the market loses another 13% and another 12% the following day, Black Tuesday. This 4-day crash in 1929 is just the beginning. It's the shot to the heart, but the bleed out continues as the market slides over the next few years until July of 1932, when the market bottoms out, having lost 89% of its value, plunging America into the Great Depression. The Great Depression lasts for 10 years, despite all efforts of government intervention to alleviate the suffering and normalize the economy. It isn't until the early days of World War II that the country climbs out of the Depression, that begins with the stock market crash that starts on this day, Black Thursday, in 1929. There's 68 days left in the year. On This Day is produced by me, Dave Schultz. Thank you very much for listening. Passing away on this day in 1601, Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe. He develops the tectonic system model of the solar system, one of the first to recognize that the moon orbits the Earth, though he also assumes incorrectly the sun orbits the Earth as well. But hey, he's making these observations without the benefit of a telescope. In 1601, he attends a banquet in Prague. He has to go to the bathroom, something fierce, but it would be improper to get up from the dining table to relieve himself. As a result, Tycho Brahe dies on this day in 1601 from a burst bladder. So if you're still listening, you may excuse yourself. Talk to you tomorrow.